Hello students, welcome to the class of English Literatures, MA Final, first paper, Principles of Literary Criticism. Earlier we have studied 11th chapters of the Poetics, now other chapters, 12th and 13th chapter. The Aristotle in these chapters talks about the quantitative parts of a tragedy. The quantitative parts of a tragedy are known as the prologue, the episode and the choric song. The last being divided into the parode and the stasimon. As already indicated, tragedy imitates actions which excite pity and fear. It follows in the first place that the change of fortune in a tragedy must not show a virtuous man falling from prosperity to adversity, because this kind of thing will only shock us and not arouse either pity or fear. Similarly, the change of fortune should not show a bad man passing from adversity to prosperity, because such a happening would be entirely alien to the spirit of tragedy, and because such a happening does not possess any tragic quality at all. Such a happening neither satisfies the moral sense nor arouses pity or fear. Again, a tragedy should not show the downfall of an utter villain, because this kind of happening would not inspire either pity or fear, though it would satisfy the moral sense. Pity can be aroused only by undeserved fortune, while fear is aroused by the misfortune of a man like ourselves. A tragedy should therefore depict a man who is not eminently good and just, and whose misfortune is brought about not by vice or depravity, but by some error or frailty. He must be one who is highly renowned and prosperous, a personage like Oedipus, Thyestes, or other illustrious men of such families. The best tragedies are founded on the story of a few families, on the fortunes of Oedipus, Orestes, Thyestes, and others who have done or suffered something terrible. At the same time, a well constructed plot should be single in its issue rather than double. A tragedy, to be perfect according to the rules of art, should be of this construction. It is wrong to censor Euripides because of he follows this principle in his plays, many of which end unhappily. Such endings are the right ones, and such plays are the most tragic in effect. In the second rank comes a kind of tragedy which has a double thread of plot and also an opposite catastrophe for the good and for the bad. In the next chapter, Aristotle talks about catharsis of emotions. He says that fear and pity may be aroused by spectacular means, but these feelings can be aroused also by the inner structure of a tragedy, and this, in fact, is better way and indicates a superior poet. Those who employ spectacular means to create a sense of the terrible or of the monstrous do not understand the true purpose of tragedy. We must not demand from tragedy any and every kind of pleasure, but only that which is proper to it. And since the pleasure which the tragic dramatist should afford is that which comes from pity and fear through imitation, it is evident that he must impress this quality upon the incidents. Actions which can most effectively arouse pity and fear are those which happen between persons who are near or dear to one another. If, for example, a brother kills a brother, a son his father, a mother her son, a son his mother, and so on. The action may be done by a character consciously and with full knowledge of the persons, or the deed of horror may be done in ignorance and the tie of kinship or friendship be discovered afterwards. Thus, in Euripides' play, Medea kills her children consciously and knowingly. But in the Oedipus of Sophocles, the son kills his father unknowingly and in ignorance, though here the murderous deed occurs outside the drama proper. In the next chapter, Aristotle talks about the portrayal of character. In respect of character, there are four things to be aimed at. First and most important, character must be good. Secondly, propriety should be observed in the portrayal of character. For example, a woman should not be shown as possessing manly valor. Thirdly, character must be true to life. Fourthly, there should be consistency in character. If at all a character has to be shown as being inconsistent, he must be consistently inconsistent. That is, his inconsistent behavior should be convincing. As in the structure of the plot, so too in the portrayal of character. The poet should always aim either at the necessary or the probable. It is also necessary that the unraveling of the plot, no less than the complication, must arise out of the plot itself. It must not be brought out by the deus ex machina. Within the action, there must be nothing irrational. If the irrational cannot be excluded, it should be kept outside the scope of the tragedy. Such is the irrational element in the Oedipus of Sophocles. The tragic poet must also ennoble character because he has to imitate persons who are above the common level. It is in this way that Achilles is portrayed by Agathon and Homer. In the next chapter, Aristotle talks about kinds of recognition. Recognition is of several kinds. There may be recognition by signs, such as a birthmark on the body or a scar left by a bodily wound, or by some external token such as a necklace. Then there is the kind of recognition introduced by a dramatist at his own will and therefore wanting in art. For example, Orestes in the play Iphigenia himself reveals the fact that he is Orestes. Another kind of recognition depends on memory. When the sight of some object awakens a certain feeling, the fourth kind of recognition is by the process of reasoning, as in Aeschylus' play Geoffrey. But the best kind of recognition is that which arises from the incidents themselves, where the startling discovery is made by natural means. This kind of recognition occurs in the play of Oedipus by Sophocles and in the play Iphigenia by Euripides. This kind of recognition dispenses with the artificial aid of tokens. The next best is the recognition by the process of reasoning.